When you think of elite level trolling, you know, the Wayne Gretzky of trolls, the Mario Lemieux of trolls, who comes to your mind, you know? Who is it that you think of in your head, in your mind's eye? To me, it's Brad Marchand. I mean, he's a complete veteran at trolling, and he loves trolling Leaf fans as well. Now, it's interesting that coming up to free agency, I'm really interested to see what the Leafs do. Like any other team, they need a second line center. It feels like every team needs a second line center, but that goes for the Maple Leafs as well. But when it comes down to it, I certainly do agree with the Maple Leafs GM about DNA change. Now, you could take that however way you want it. DNA change can be looked at something from different people. I do think that's true. The Leafs have a bunch of guys that are the exact same. Tavares, skilled guy, same guy. Nylander, Matthews, Marner, they are all very similar players. You know, this is something that actually Brian Hayes has touched on quite a bit on TSN 1050, and he's bang on about it. You know, it is also interesting because even James Myrtle of the Leaf Report has been going on and on and on about how the Maple Leafs should be pursuing Brad Marchand if they want a true DNA change, which is fair. Now, obviously, the problem with that is that Brad Marchand is 37 years old, but, I mean, he was just electric in the playoffs. He was just fantastic. I mean, whoever's telling you he wasn't good, that guy was, he played like he was 27 in the Stanley Cup Finals. You know, the only player to get more points off of the Toronto Maple Leafs in the playoffs is Gordie Howe. Brad Marchand is the second most goals out of any player against the Maple Leafs in the playoffs. So it does almost make too much sense for them to bring him in. And Nick Kypreos today did ignite a lot of speculation that he doesn't understand how it doesn't happen, Brad Marchand ending up being a Toronto Maple Leaf. And it's interesting, on the Leafs Morning Take on Instagram, Brad Marchand actually responded to the post with expletive dog, do the people want to see it? Which is man, that is epic level trolling. Obviously that is a massive troll. Now, despite it being trolling and probably never going to happen, the Leafs should legitimately explore this, okay? You know, is it going to happen? Probably not. But if you want to change your DNA, like Brad Trevling says, how much more could you do that with a difference maker of a player than that? Is it going to work out? Is it going to be like a Patrick Marleau or something like that? Perhaps. But at the end of the day, you got to do what you can. If you're going to say big time words like that, change the DNA, you kind of have to put your best foot forward. Now, obviously, what does worry me about Brad Marchand is the fact that he is older, and the contract really worries me. He is probably going to try to drive up his value absolutely crazy. He also did respond to the media saying, essentially they were talking about signing rumors and, is he considering signing with the Florida Panthers? And to be fair, Brad Marchand did say, quote, give me a contract. Now, I don't know if that means give me any contract that Bill Zito wants to give him, but it seems like he's pretty motivated to sign back there. Now, that doesn't mean that the Maple Leafs couldn't try to entice Brad Marchand with a little bit more money. They could possibly do that. And let's remember, Brad Marchand did grow up a Maple Leafs fan, and I don't know if he's just trying to troll us even more with that, but it is what it is. Okay, so question of the video, is this something that you would actually be interested in? I would be interested in it if it was a fair contract and he actually wanted to come. I'm not certainly going to get my hopes up too much, and I do believe that we need to get undervalued players. For example, if we want to build a cup team in Toronto, we need to get players and they need to outperform their contract. We've had way too many years where players got all the money, but they never performed up to their contract, so that would be my opinion. Now, we did actually get a lot more information about the Matthew Knies contract signing, and it is kind of interesting that apparently it's not going that well, or it's not necessarily going that well, but apparently the team and the player are, quote, still far away from each other. Now, to be fair, this could more than likely just be kind of, saying that, but usually what happens in these contract negotiations is the team is going to start very, very low. Like maybe they're starting at like 5 million on a long-term contract, and then perhaps Nyes and his agent are starting at something like 9.5 or 10 million, which I don't think is going to happen at all. And then you look at that and say, well, maybe they're probably just going to meet somewhere in the middle. I've said this before, and I will say this again, that I am fine with paying Nyes big on an 8-year contract. I think that the Maple Leafs should try to get as many years as they can. And the one thing is that the Maple Leafs cannot keep on losing contract negotiations. They can't, especially when guys are restricted free agents, okay? They can't keep on losing every contract negotiation, and especially with a guy, for example, like Tavares. Oh, he's never going to take below 5 million. Maybe it might even be as high as 7.5 and 8 million. That's outrageous. It's outrageous. You just let him walk, okay? You just let him walk, and you just figure out something else. Okay, if Duchesne can sign for 4.5 times 4, there's no reason that John Tavares can't sign. Let's not forget Matthew Nyes is a restricted free agent. If you have to, just let him sit out and start the season without him. If he doesn't want to sign by the December deadline, just let him sit for the year. That's it. You have to put these guys' feet to the fire. Every single one of these guys say, I love being a Leaf, I love my time here, but every other team in the NHL, even teams that have high tax states, might I add, they all have their players sign 8, 7, 8 years long-term contracts where the team gets some kind of contract stability. So please do not tell me that Matthew Nyes cannot do that. You have to be hard on this guy, and if he requests a trade, who cares? He's a restricted free agent. All you have to do is say, yeah, I might consider that, okay? You don't have to trade absolutely anybody. And this is the one thing I really want the Leafs to do. I really want them to be tougher on contract negotiations. A lot of teams are tough on contract negotiations, and it just is what it is. Anyways, I'm going to leave this video here. I thought this was some really interesting information. If you could make sure to like, comment, and subscribe, I would greatly appreciate that, guys. And make sure to have a great day. Goodbye, guys.